It's been an amazing year. I mean, here we are, middle of August. I arrived in September of last year, and it's everything that I expected and more. I think I arrived saying, it's great to be back. I'm so looking forward to being here with my family this time, and it has been great to be back, and I've had a great opportunity to actually invest in what we're doing here and look at what we're doing here and get the UK to recognise what British Forces Gibraltar is doing here and in the community, and to show that journey that we're on. So it's been good.
What would you say have been the biggest challenges in your first year in Gibraltar?
Some of the biggest challenges are all around the narrative. I think it's fair to say that I arrived and a whole bunch of people here said, oh, well, the MOD, you've been drawing down for so long, are you the man turning the lights out? Are you going to be the last person here? That was never the case. It was never going to be that. But the greatest challenge has been to get everyone to actually recognise, every person that works for the MOD here, every person that adds value to what we do, recognise that we're here to stay and what we're doing remains important. And yes, we have downsized over the years. That's just a reflection of the realities. And Gibraltar has benefited from the opportunities that the MOD's drawdown has provided. And of course now I'm all about, seizing on what we've got. Where are the opportunities for the future?
This week, of course, the union, Unite, has called for what it describes as an end to austerity. That is to say, the pay increase freezes over the last 10 years or so. Tell us where you stand on that.
So, 1976, if memory serves me correct, the unions here achieved pay parity with the UK. So my locally engaged civilians are paid exactly the same, in base pay as a civil servant in the UK. That's set by, those pay rates are set by the Treasury and by the Cabinet Office, not the Ministry of Defence. And I hope and I expect that as any pay restraints are eased, and I suppose it's fair to say we're seeing the signs of that, that will read across. Pay parity is pay parity. My locally engaged workforce, my civilians, my civil servants here will see the benefits of that as well. But it's not my ability to change, and nor is it the MOD's ability to change. Of course, these are centrally directed from the Treasury and the Cabinet Office.
So you're not involved at all in any negotiations or discussions?
No, we have pay parity. That is a hard-fought, hard-won thing, and I stand by that. We will provide pay parity to my locally engaged civilians.
Let's talk about the Grace 1 supertanker detained in Gibraltar waters just a little over a month ago. What involvement did British Forces Gibraltar have in that operation?
So British Forces Gibraltar was requested by the Royal Gibraltar Police and the Gibraltar Port Authority. British Forces Gibraltar was asked to support the police boarding of that vessel. And so my team created the conditions in which the Gibraltar Port Authority and the Royal Gibraltar Police could exert jurisdiction on the Grace 1 as it came into British Gibraltar territorial waters.
So was British Forces Gibraltar at all involved in the direction of the Royal Marines who went aboard?
So that operation was commanded by my headquarters, was commanded from here. So in that sense, yes. But of course, the Royal Marines were always working to the Royal Gibraltar Police during that operation.
There were some comments made by the ship's captain in an interview with BBC where he made reference to the use of unusual force by the Royal Marines during the operation. How would you reply to that?
So the Royal Marines needed to get on board a vessel that they didn't understand, and they needed to get on there safely. Safety for them and safety for the crew. And they used recognisable tactics and procedures to achieve that. So I don't recognise the terms that the captain used.
Okay. There has been an ongoing land transfer agreement between the Gibraltar government and the MOD for the last few years. Tell us, is that now completed, or at what stage are we, and is it being carried out to your satisfaction?
So we're coming to the end of that. I think everyone, as you look around Gibraltar, we've seen and heard the transfer of the married quarters at Europa, for example, and they were used most successfully during the Island Games, and of course are now being set up to go to new owners. We've seen the Four Corners development, which has come out of the ground and moved on, and we're coming to the end of it. So I think we're probably a couple of months away from the last moving parts coming together as things like the Loughborough Stadium complete, the works in Four Corners complete, and other bits and pieces. And to my satisfaction, yes, of course, I think the government of Gibraltar have absolutely stood up by their side of the deal in terms of helping us centre and focus our activities around Gibraltar in as efficient a way and allowing Gibraltar and the people of Gibraltar to make best use of the land that has been freed up.
Incursions from the Spanish national authorities continue into Gibraltar waters whenever there is a series of tensions regarding these incursions. Of course, the Royal Navy has a responsibility for Gibraltar's sovereignty. Tell us where we stand at the moment and whether you see these incursions as a nuisance, a problem, or something far more serious.
So the most important thing to say is that there's no challenge to sovereignty here. There's no doubt about the sovereignty around Gibraltar, British Gibraltar territorial waters, and that is absolutely clear in everyone's minds. Incursions are an annoyance, of course they are, and that they are investigated and reported and protested by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office at every occasion that they happen. But they don't endanger our sovereignty or in any way risk what is British Gibraltar territorial waters. And day in, day out, every day of the year, the men and women of the Gibraltar Squadron are on the water demonstrating our sovereignty.
But do you understand the frustrations of the local population who see Spanish state vessels during these incursions sometimes challenging the sovereignty and the jurisdiction of local vessels? Do you understand those frustrations?
I do recognise that it can be, it appears unusual. But our geography here, and I'm a mariner, I drive ships, and our geography here lends itself to Spain needing to go through Gibraltar's waters in order to conduct its business. It's a very big difference between an incursion and what we call innocent passage. And that is where a vessel is legitimately able to transit through the territorial waters of another state. The Royal Navy, we use it all over the world as a matter of just being able to go about our legitimate business. So every time you see a Spanish state vessel going past inside BGTWs, that is not necessarily an incursion. It's only an incursion if it then acts in a way that is not compliant with United Nations conventions and the law of the sea. And so, yes, I recognize that emotion, but I have to look at it through the prism of international law, and that's how we will respond, and that's how we will protest those transgressions.
There was an intention for Gibraltar to receive new long-term Royal Navy assets. Tell us where we are on that.
So Scimitar and Sabre have done sterling service, both in the UK and now out here, but they are getting to the end of their lives. The process to replace them with two brand new, yet to even be designed craft is now well underway. The first bidders conference, so the companies that have expressed an interest have already been out in Gibraltar. They've already looked here about what I require of those vessels, and in the autumn we should be downsizing, and by the end of the year, I hope, selecting the bidder, and then those craft will be built and brought out here and will then take over from Sabre and Scimitar. There'll be no loss of service. One will replace the other, and we'll still have those two boats here, and they will continue to demonstrate day in, day out, the sovereignty and our presence here on the waters. They'll also be better. And it's just the remainder of the Royal Navy is also modernising, of course, so this is just a manifestation of that.
I asked you earlier on about the challenges of this job. Tell us what the pleasures of the job are.
Pleasures of being here. Pleasures about working with people here in Gibraltar. Not only British Forces Gibraltar, the military people, the UK civilians, the locally engaged civilians, but also the people of Gibraltar. It remains a very special and very peculiar and particular place, and all of that is good. We are having an amazing time amongst amazing people, and how can you complain with the weather that we've had recently? It is a marvelous and special place, and it continues to be so.